But let me start with this. I mean, renewing your driver's license isn't easy. What was once a fairly hassle-free exercise has now become a pain. The booking system is problematic. There's a massive backlog and claims of corruption as well. So right here on eNCA, we're getting into gear to find out exactly what the problem is. Our reporters are in different parts of the country. We'll start with Manqoba Mchunu, who is at the Watlu Licensing Department in Tshwane, but also my other colleagues, Nobasutu Hechana, is in Cape Town, as well as my colleague Letiwe Mtluli in Durban. But let me start this one in Tshwane, where Manqoba Mchunu is standing by. Manqoba, I mean, I can imagine those queues still starting. We've been receiving some messages from some of our viewers saying they could wait for hours on end, especially if they're also working up early, but still, it seems the system is not on their side.
Certainly, that's the sentiments that we've been hearing from many of the motorists, not only here in Watlu Licensing Department, but also where we visited last week at the Langlaagte Licensing Department, as well as the other licensing department, which is in Crown Mines. People saying that they've had to wait in long queues to try and get their driver's license renewed, and many of them quite unhappy about the online system, saying that it simply is not working for them. But to get more answers on this, I'm now joined by the MEC for Roads and Transport here in Gauteng, Jacob Mamabulo. MEC, thank you for your time. Let's start here. You've been interacting with some of the motorists here this morning, and of course, many of them are quite not happy about this system. In fact, they're saying that the system, the online system in particular, is failing them because they've tried to register, but many of them are saying that they're just not winning, and they fear that they might not that January deadline. Would you actually concede that the system is failing the people?
Well, firstly, good morning and thanks to you. As you have seen, I've just interacted with some of the applicants here who are standing in the queue. And one matter that has become very clear, no doubt about it, is that the booking system is actually a big frustration to the people. So that point is made loud and clear. There's no doubt about it. What we have done since we realized that COVID-19 has caused backlogs, we went into the information and the data to analyze what exactly is the root cause of the outcry about the booking system. And what I can say without any doubt is that the data that we have looked at indicate that there is a problem with how the officials are managing and handling the booking system and the allocation of slots to the people. So we can clearly see that from the data, there seems to be a problem of slots being allocated to other services and not necessarily driver's license renewals. For example, we can see the high numbers of the new applicants for driver's licenses. The numbers are high. The numbers for renewals are very low. That tells you that the way the officials are allocating slots on the system is not correct, because it makes them underperform in driver's licenses, and there's excess performance, particularly and most worrying in the new applications for driver's licenses. The question is, I will be meeting with the members of mayoral committees, what we call MMCs in the municipalities, because most of these DLTCs are with the municipalities. We need to make a decision about the numbers to be allocated for renewals, so that we can be able to go to the pre-COVID-19 performance to get big output. Okay. The second issue we're going to look at is, why is it that officials are deliberately allocating more slots in particularly new drivers?
Okay.
and not...
So, MEC, just to jump in there, are you saying that the staff is not properly trained? Is that the reason maybe perhaps that they're not allocating these slots correctly?
It can be that they are not trained. That is why one of the issues that I'll be discussing with the municipalities is we need to issue a clear directive about the number of slots that should be allocated, particularly to renewals of driver's licenses. Secondly, we need to investigate why managers of these DLTCs are deliberately distorting the number of slots that are being allocated for driver's licenses. And you can clearly see this is a deliberate move. It has got nothing to do with the system. It borders on and it raises issues potentially of something very worrying, something very dodgy, but we need to hear them first. That is why we will, together with the municipalities, commission a process to understand why are they doing this, because in the history of DLTCs, this has never happened. So we know the capacity of each. We can see they are underperforming. You can see a new trend of overperforming in other areas. So we need to investigate that and check whether there's something more sinister to this trend.
So what can you say? I mean, you can see there are people here on the line. What assurance can you give? How are you going to resolve this? Will this be resolved anytime soon?
So this week, before Friday, we are issuing a clear directive on allocation of slots for particularly and privileging renewals. That we'll do this week. The second issue that we are going to do is just to commission an investigation and be clear that there are no acts of corruption that are influencing the allocation of slots. That's number 2. Number 3, we are looking at increasing the total number of the DLTCs and exploring other options like using mobile facilities, because the challenge we have is that up to the end of January, we should have resolved the backlogs, because that is the time that people have, and we have verified this with law enforcement agencies as well. People have to renew their license.
And the MEC has previously said that people must spend a day here to renew their licenses. And the reality is that on the ground, people are saying the queues are long. They have to wait for 4 hours in these queues. Would you, MEC, actually come and spend a day here?
Well, as I have said, that what the people are going through is definitely unacceptable. And that is why we are going to be having interventions this week to correct this.
But would you, MEC, spend a day waiting in the queue like this, like these people?
Yes, definitely, because if I have to renew my license, there's no privilege here of jumping the queue. You make a booking like everybody, you get a space, and then you must come and stand in the queue. That is the standard, and there's no reason why there must be a way of privileging me in particular. No, I'll stand in the queue.
Give us a date, MEC. We want to come and join you in this queue and see it for ourselves, that you also feel some of the frustrations that these drivers are saying are here. When will you do that, MEC?
Well, let's arrange that. I can come and stand here. I'm here already, and I am checking and going through, and I'll be going inside to talk to the managers. So at your earliest, and of course we can arrange that, I'll definitely come and stand in the queue and just go through and see how people go through this, but I've already seen it here.
This week or next week?
It depends on when are you available.
Okay. All right, we'll definitely...
So at your earliest.
Thank you, MEC. We'll definitely hold you to that.
I'll wait for your call.
Okay, the MEC is saying that he'll wait for our call here to come and call him so that we join him when he's here on the queue to experience what some of these drivers are going through, the frustrations regarding that online system.
Well, not an answer that we expected here, to hear the MEC saying he's willing to stand. Actually, we're expecting to hear that he'd be willing to do all he can to make sure that people don't have to wait hours on end in queues. But anyway, let's move on to my other colleague, Nubasutu Hechan. I mean, what do you have for us there? When we read some of the comments coming in from our viewers, I mean, one particular gentleman said that he actually even received a fine, a ticket, for not having, a renewed license. So those are the realities on the ground. But what do you have for us from where you stand?
Well, Tumelo, here at the Gallows Hill Traffic Department, we're starting to see that the queues are actually starting to pick up as many motorists are arriving. And over the weekend, I also had my fair share of waiting for 3 hours in the queue when we attempted to check how the process works. But one person who's no stranger to the waiting game is Martin. Martin, this is your second visit to the Gallows Traffic Department. Can you just tell us about your experience for the first time?
Yeah, first time we were here about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, and took us about 2.5, 3 hours to get done what we needed to get done. And this morning we decided to rather get up very early, to be here at 7 o'clock, rather stand an hour in the queue, but be somewhere in the front of the queue to avoid such long waiting time and frustration that comes with it.
And you were telling me that you have a ticket, you have a fine, and can you just tell us about your experience, because you did mention that you applied online, but the process is taking long, and you were actually fined.
Yeah, that's correct. We used the online system for the car license. That must have been in June or July that I did it. And for many weeks there was no notification. Then there was a notification for payment. And it has to be paid on that same day, which I did. That's now 2.5 months ago, and the postal system has not delivered it yet. And unfortunately, you get fines if your car license has not got the right date on.
And you are fined. And what are you paying?
Well, no, I haven't yet. And I suppose one hopefully can dispute it. I don't know. I haven't gone that far yet, but I haven't paid yet. But I would like to hear that there will be some sort of regulation in this time where the departments are not ready to complete all the backlog that has built up over the COVID period.
All right, thank you very much. Well, that was Martin, a motorist, who was just telling us about his experience. But we understand the reason for these backlogs. It's because the departments or the officers are working at the short staff, not their normal capacity due to COVID-19.
All right, Nobesutu, it's quite concerning to hear that some of South Africans are being fined there, because communication had been sent out already that extension was given and provided until January. It makes one wonder whether or not internally within the traffic department, if that communication, of course, has been sent out to some of the traffic officers, if they know that they shouldn't be issuing out tickets, if that extension is provided. But anyway, let me move on to Letty, where you are in Durban. Colleague, I mean, what do you see there from where you stand? Are those queues still piling up?
Well, at the moment, the queues have disappeared because, like I said earlier, the testing station is only taking about 100 people a day. So after we actually spoke to a few people who were standing in line, and they've been standing since 2:30, they were not able to get inside and get the assistance that they needed. The line has disappeared and only 100 people were allowed inside the station. But right now I'm going to speak to a gentleman who was here to collect his license. He says that he's been here before and he's had to come here in as early as about 5 a.m. in the morning just to get assistance. Khutato, please join me. So just tell me about your experience before when coming here to get assistance.
Well, first of all, the experience was actually nerve-wracking, because at first, I had to wake up at 5 o'clock just for the booking, So now, before they start working, you gotta wait like maybe 2 to 3 hours before they actually open. That's then the time then they actually start, serving us, helping us out. So the whole experience was really, really nerve-wracking from booking my learner's license and to booking my driver's license, because when I came to book my driver's license, it was worse because now the COVID-19 started setting in, because I did my learners before the whole COVID-19 generic came, so now the whole experience took me in a way that most of the time I was actually here. This one time I had to come here just to book my driver's license. I had to come here and then go back again because I came in late because I was doing a night shift the previous day. So I was tired, so I had to come here only to find out that they were taking a number of people a limited number of people here. So I had to go home and then come back the next day. So I had to ask for a sick from work so I can actually come here. Yeah. So, but all in all, it really was a long experience. But actually, that as I've told you that I've come here to collect my license. It's been a very long time. I couldn't collect it because I'm always working with the time. So I decided, today I'm gonna wake up as early as I can because the taxis don't operate up until 4 o'clock. Where I stay. So I have to wake up at least a bit early. So I had to catch the first taxi that comes, so I can actually be, at least I'm not gonna be the first one, but at least I'm gonna be close. Yeah. So I was actually expecting the process to be long, because I didn't know what to expect. So I had to just to be sure to wake up early, Yeah, so, but all in all, it was.
Thank you so much, Khutato. So that's one of the gentlemen that's been here since 5 a.m. in the morning trying to get assistance. Back to you in studio.
All right, thank you so much, Letiwe Nobesutu, as well as my colleague Manqoba Mkhunu. As you can see, they're just the realities on the ground that we're facing today as most South Africans are trying to get their licenses renewed.